So once you're logged in, this is the screen that you're going to see. Now it should be a very similar screen that greets you, which would be your setup guide. You've just logged into your CRM and we need to set it up. Now, in a perfect world, I would tell you to go and watch these videos that they show you, because these will give you a deeper insight into what your CRM is capable of. However, I'm going to help you here and help you customize it the way a travel company would be requiring it. So this is going to be a customization, how I do it for my clients and how the travel companies can basically copy and do it. So we are not going to be importing any contacts here. If you had them ready, yes, and in the same CSV file as they wanted, this could be one way of doing it. But before we get to it, we need to customize it a little bit. So let's get into the customization part first. Let's go to our contacts. Once you come here, you'll have two demo contacts. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and delete them. So it should be a complete clean slate for us to get started. Since we have no contacts now, we're going to start customizing. First step, we go and we edit the properties. There's a lot of information that you will see here, but we really don't need all this information as a part of our default view. But before we actually come and customize it for a default view, we need to create some properties. Now, what are these properties that a travel agency needs? So depending upon how you want to segment it for your niche, you will have to use the properties accordingly. For example, you may want to segment it based on city, which is always a good thing to do. What I recommend is that you segment it based on your destination and based on the other criteria, like whether it's a family travel, whether it's couple traveling, whether it is family with kids. So these could all be criterias that you can use to further segment your data. To do this, first thing we'll need to do is we'll need to create those properties. So let's say we want to create a property based on destination. Go to create property. What is this going to be a part of? Is it going to be a part of a contact, company, deal, or a ticket? In our case, it's going to be a part of contact. Select group. We're talking about contact information. Label. What do you want to call this property? We're calling it destination. That's the internal name and that's what it is. What is the description? Do remember the description is optional. Next, what is the field type? The field type is going to be a single line text, or do you want it to be a multi-line text? Ideally, it should be a single line text. Destination, this is how it's going to look when it's ready. Do you want it to appear in the forms? Now, you don't really need this for the forms. This is for our internal consumption. So let's not go into the forms. Let's uncheck this and press create. So this property has now been created. Now let's go to the other properties that we need. So what is the other property that we need? So any property, any field that you think can help you segment your data later on, and you will understand why segmentation is so important. In my case, I always recommend to give it a name like the type of client. So the type of client is a field which is going to tell you whether it's a family, couple, senior citizens. So that helps you further segregate it. So we don't have this property, we go create it again, same ways as the last one. So it's going to be a part of contact. It is going to be in contact information. We're going to call it type of client. My description is usually the same. Once again, I don't want it to be seen in the forms. It's going to be a single line text and create. So these are the two properties that we have actually set up right now. So we have 10 custom properties available. We have used 3 out of this. One more property that I have, which I have used, is called a tag. As you can see here, we have a property called tag. I use tags to differentiate between my clients. So it is, if I don't know what else to put in there, I would use a tag as a property. So tag is my first level of customization. So with these 3 properties now created, we still have 7 left. We have no need for more right now. Let's move back to our contacts. Let us first create a contact to see how the contact properties are going to look like and how do we bring them all in the display view. Do we need to fill the job title? No. Tag? No. Phone number? No. City? No. Now, since I have enabled my GDPR fields because I don't like to spam anybody, I would need to go and fill it in. However, if you want, you can uncheck this field right now, and that way it will not prompt up all the time when you are setting up your contacts. So I'll say it's a new lead, legal basis for it's a legitimate interest, prospect lead, or it could be an existing customer. So in this case, let's say he's an existing customer. Let's go ahead and create a contact. Now our contact has been created, and by default, the contact will open up straight away. Once this contact opens up, we can go and further fine tune the properties that we need. See, currently we are not seeing much here. We've got the name, we've got the email address, the tag is empty. So let's go and customize these properties. So let's go into view all properties here. The properties that we need to see, which are the default properties, will show up on our left hand side. Now this is usually the first name, last name, email, tag, phone number, city, contact owner, last contacted, lead status. I always suggest that you have the properties you've created here. So the first property we created was destination. Add to your view, and the other one was type of client, add to your view. Now if we go down here, we see these two have been added to our view. Now how do you want to see it? I would like to drag it up here, drag it up here. So this you can drag based on how you record the information. So if you're taking a call, you start with the client's name, his email ID, his phone number, then you can pull this up. You want his destination next, you can pull that up. You want to know whether he's a family traveler or whether he is a couple, you can pull that here. Where is the city he's from? You could pull this here, you can pull that here. And then lastly, who's the contact owner? So who's the person whom this lead has been assigned to? Is there any other tag that you want to put in here? Last contacted, lead status. So lead status is always a good thing to have here. That way you can always, you know what stage of the journey he is at. In my case, I can use the tag for the same thing. Let's go back. So once we come back here to the default view, now we have the way we had dragged the fields. We have all these properties available to us. So let's say this particular client who called us up wants to go to, this is the destination, this is his number, what kind of a type of a client he is. So this could be couple, let's say honeymooner. What is the city he's from? What is the tag you have? So this could also be who has referred him to you. This could be any information that you want to record. I use it to differentiate on the B2B side of the business. So you can choose whatever you want. You can say whose tag is, who is the referrer, or where did this come from, where was the lead generated. Let's say it was Facebook. Now when you save this, all this information is now available to your team members when they are working on this particular booking. So this is the default view. Now the next section here is what is called the notes. Now anytime you discuss anything with your client, you can create a note and add it here. Once you start creating and adding the notes, all the chronological history, all the discussions that have happened would be visible. By default, how I recommend you use this is when your team members or you yourself, when anybody is talking to the clients, the first thing you should do is log into your CRM and open up the client profile. And whatever has been the main point of your discussion, discuss it here. Once you do that, you will always have 100% history available to you. See, how notes come in handy is a lot of times before a booking is confirmed, or if a lot of times the client is being handled by a couple of different people, or if in your company your client is being handled by one particular travel consultant and this travel consultant is not in the office for whatever reason, he's not available right now, how do we know what was the discussion? To ask the client again what was discussed last time would be highly unprofessional. So all the discussion, all the key points, if they are logged in here in form of a note, you would know what was discussed. So a simple thing like, this is what you discussed on the call, you have logged it now. Once you have logged it, always create a task to follow up. So you've logged it, now you're going to send it to your supplier, or you're going to log into your system and pull up the rates. But you have to make sure that you don't forget to answer back to the client. In this case, go here and say, okay, we have promised to answer him back on this and this date, on the 1st of September. Go ahead and save the note. And once you've saved the note, this note is now available in this client's default profile. When you want to email, if you have already configured your Gmail or your email account, then this is the best place to send the email from. And if you haven't done so, please go ahead and configure your email account so that you can email the client from directly within. How you configure the email account is by going to the settings here, going down to the integrations. So in integrations, come to email integration. Once you are in the email integration, it will give you the option to connect your inbox. In my case, I've already connected it. As you can see, it's a G Suite account and it's connected to my inbox. But if you haven't done so, please come here and connect it. So once you've connected it, go back to your contacts. As you can see, by default, we only have one contact here. Now that we are here, how do you want to see this information? What do you want to see here? What you can do is you can actually change how the view appears in front of you. So currently it is showing us the name, email, phone number, contact owner. I want to see these two informations here as well. I want this on the top. I want this on the top here, below this. So name, email, phone number, destination, type of client, and contact owner, so that if somebody is viewing it, they know it in one go. So the name of the client is here, the email is here, the phone number is here, where he's traveling to, his destination is here, he's a honeymooner, and who's the contact owner. And then of course you have all the other details that you need. So let's open the contact again. Initially, in the initial stages, when you are setting it up, you will have to exit it a lot of times. There'll be a lot of backwards and forwards for you. So be patient with yourself. It will happen. As you can see, the note that we had created and the task we had created have both shown up here. So now we know that this was what was discussed. This is when he has to follow up. I don't want to follow up at 8 o'clock. I actually would like to follow up at, let's say, 11. Just come here, change it. Let's change the time. So the entire activity overview in one go, you will know when your client has called up, what everything that is happening. If he's using his official email address, what company he works for. This deal is going to come in shortly. Once we have received, once we have moved forward to the next section, once we move forward to the deal section, I'll show you how to set up deals. And once the deal has been set up, it will start showing up here as well. So going back to our emails, any communication that you have moving forward, I will suggest you have from here. Come, create an email, and then you can start sending an email. Now, as I said, I had enabled the GDPR, so I have to again go and uncheck this and give it a legal basis. Since he's a client, he's asked for a package, then yes, I have explanation for communication consent. With that done, this checkbox is now gone. Now you could leave the unsubscribe tag here. You could leave edited with HubSpot here. This would usually come down before, this would come down along with your signature, but I tend to kind of remove all of it. I don't really want this here. Remove the link, delete this. Now, any email that you send from here now is automatically being logged in, and whatever communication happens would become visible to you in this timeline. It will be visible once under emails, but it will also be visible under activities. Similarly, if you happen to be in one of the countries where they have an integration with a VoIP, the voice over internet protocol provider, you could actually link your phone number with this here, and all the calls you do would not only automatically be tracked, but they'll also be recorded, and you will have the records available to you. So if tomorrow there is a conflict that has arisen, something that the client feels was promised and was not delivered, you have even the phone record available to you. If you are in Middle East, India, or Southeast Asia, I'm afraid there are very few providers who link with it. You can get a whole list of providers by going to the marketplace. Marketplace is the place where you'll find all the integrations. Now, we had also created a task associated with our client, and the task has shown up here. So all the tasks, everything you've done will show up here. How I recommend you use tasks is every time you're doing a note, add a task. Every time you send an email, you can also add a task. And lastly, we have the option here of meeting. So if the client is coming to the office or you have a time that you have to call him up, please make sure that you put it in as a meeting, because the system would then automatically remind you. So this is how you create the overview. But we are not done with the contacts as yet. There are a few more things that we need to do. And the first, after we have set up all the fields that we need, is we need to go to what is called the lists. So when you come to the lists, this is what you are going to see. You're going to see an empty folder. Now, why do we need the lists? It is normally a good idea to start segregating your data. Remember segmentation, start segregating your data here. There are two kinds of way I like to segregate my data, or I recommend my clients segregate their data. One is based on the destination, and the other is based on the type of client that they are. I may want to have a separate list of clients who are family travelers, family with kids, or I may just want to keep my data based on the destination. Let's say I only promote one destination. I'm an expert for Maldives. Destination is no criteria for me, but what kind of client I've sold that package to is a criteria. And this is what you can do here. We come here, create a list. So this is how we're going to see it. Ours is going to be a contact-based list. We're going to use an active list. An active list is a list that automatically updates the members based on the criteria. If you were a corporate travel agent and had a lot of corporate bookings that came to you from various different people, then you could also build up a list based on the company criteria. But in the case of most of the travel agencies, it will be a contact-based list. We'll call it an active list. Let's start it by giving it a name. We'll call it honeymooners. Filter type would be contact properties. We are going to differentiate on basis of client. The client option should be a honeymooner, update filter, and we should be good to go now. It's going to go back, check all the records. So let's refresh it again. Voila, as you see, we have now the size of the list is 1. So what that means is that this client has now been added here. Anytime we go ahead and create another client who's a honeymooner, and we use the right tag and call him honeymooner, they would automatically keep on showing up in this list. Now, why is it important to build lists like this? To me, segmentation is very important. I love to slice and dice my audience so that I have a granular control over the marketing aspect of it. And to get that granular control, you actually need to go into segmentation. And that segmentation is provided by these active lists. So if you went back to the contacts now, please make sure every time you come back here, you go to the more filters and you remove this. Otherwise, you will only end up seeing the clients who are a part of that list. Now, let's say I create another contact. As I said, since I'm specialist for one destination, let's create another contact. And in this case, in the type of contact, I'm going to add he's a honeymooner right here. Same thing with the lead status. It's a new lead. This has just come in. Legal data for processing it. It's legitimate interest, prospect lead, create contact. Now, as soon as I have created this and I've added the tag to it of a honeymooner, it doesn't matter. I've not defined the destination as yet. The minute I've added this tag, it will go and add it to the list automatically. As you can see, the list size is now 2 contacts. So it's straight away come and added him to the list. Now, how is this important? Why is this important for you? If you're going to follow this method that I'm showing you here and you link it up with an automation software, an email marketing automation, which I have made a separate series about, in a separate series where I give you my process of how I consult my clients. It's an overview of the process. It's not as detailed as I do it with my clients, but it's an overview which can help you get the ball rolling and get started. You will see that I tilt very heavily in favor of email marketing automation. Using the active lists, we can actually start populating our email marketing lists as well. So this is how this thing works. Now, any other data that you need, any other data that you want to capture for your client, you can do it here and you can customize that view. So we had contacts, companies. As I told you, companies is relevant to you if you are into the corporate travel where a company is going to be coming to you. It has so far gone ahead and created these companies because that email address that I used, abcd.com, it is of an American broadcasting company, so it's created that as a company here. We don't really need that as yet, but this is how you would have it. You can create a company, and anybody that you enter from that company, the records of those people will automatically start showing up when you go into the detail. And all the contacts that you have, they will be visible to you on this side here. So if you had, let's say, 20 contacts from a company, they would be here, the names would be here. And all the interaction that you've had with that company, anybody in that company, would all be visible here. Now, that's a very detailed overview if you're in the corporate travel and there are times when a discrepancy comes up. You can pinpoint all the communication. At the same time, any emails you send or receive would also be logged in here all the time. So that will help you a lot. So this is how I would start setting up the contacts. So this is what I wanted to share with you in this first video. There'll be more in the subsequent videos. So do remember to keep on watching it so that you have an overview and you get a good idea as to how you can set up your CRM. Thank you for your time. This is Vishal Mehra signing off. I'll see you in the next video.